Let's read some more of the Death of Lully, y'all. God knows, he answered. Perhaps the heathen hounds are making some trouble with our men. He got up and walked to the rail of the ship. A quarter of a mile away, across the smooth water of the bay, stood a little African town at which they had stopped to call the sunlight. The sunlight showed everything with a hard and merciless definition. Sky palms, white houses, domes, and towers seemed as though made from some hard, enameled metal. A ridge of low red hills rolled away right and left. The sunshine gave to everything in the scene the same clarity of detail, so that to the eye of the onlooker there was no impression of distance. The whole thing seemed to be painted in flat upon a single plane. The young man returned to his couch under the awning and lay down. It was hotter than ever, or seemed so at least. Since he had made the exertion of getting up, he thought of high, cool pastures in the hills, with the pleasant sound of streams far down and out of sight in their deep channels. He thought of winds that were fresh and scented, winds that were not mere breaths of dust and fire. He thought of the shade of cypresses, a narrow, opaque strip of darkness, and the thought, too, of the green coolness, more diffused and fluid and transparent, of chestnut groves. And he thought of the people he remembered sitting under the trees, young people, gay and brightly dressed, whose life was all gaiety and deliciousness. There were the songs that they sang, he recalled the voices and the dancing of the strings, and there were perfumes. And when one drew closer, the faint, intoxicating fragrance of a woman's body. He thought of the stories they told. One in particular came to his mind, a capital tale of a sorcerer who offered to change a peasant's wife into a mare, and how he gulled the husband and enjoyed the woman before his eyes, and the delightful excuses he made when he failed to change her shape. He smiled to himself at the thought of it, and stretching out a hand, touched his mistress. Her bosom was soft to his fingers and damp with sweat. He had an unpleasant notion that she was melting in the heat. "Why do you touch me?" she asked. He made no reply, but turned away from her. He wondered how it would come to pass that people would rise again in the body. It seemed curious, considering the manifest activities of worms. And suppose one rose in the body that one possessed in age? He shuddered, picturing to himself that this woman would be like when she was 60, 70. She would be beyond words repulsive. Old men, too, were horrible. They stank, and their eyes were rheumy and rosiny, like the eyes of deer. He decided that he would kill himself before he grew old. He was 28 now. He would give himself 12 years more. Then he would end it. His thoughts dimmed and faded away into sleep. The woman looked at him as he slept. He was a good man, she thought, though sometimes cruel. He was different from all the other men she had known. Once, when she was 16 and a beginner in the business of love, she had thought that all men were always drunk when they made love. They were all dirty and like beasts. She had felt herself superior to them. But this man was a nobleman. She could not understand him. His thoughts were always obscure. She felt herself infinitely inferior to him. She was afraid of him and his occasional cruelty, but still, he was a good man, and he might do what he liked with her. From far off came the sound of oars, a rhythmical splash and creak. Somebody shouted, and from startlingly close at hand one of the sailors hallooed back. The young man woke up with a start. "What is it?" he asked.